Alright, hey guys, it's Eddie here, and I am a teacher now. Anyways, I teach math, and I got bored, so here we are. Okay, so it was a basic math thing that I was doing, and it just got me thinking. Still on RG inverse. Basic stuff I was doing, and it's for like a fifth grade class. Alright, so as I was doing this, it kind of got stuck in my head, and I started thinking about different stuff. Since I haven't released videos, I might as well just add this as my video. Anyways, so this is probably something that, somebody probably already did this, already theorized about this whole thing. But I just want to make a video, so I'm just gonna do this anyways. I personally think there are no dimension. I think the dimension is just a concept, and there isn't a dimension outside of ours. Because to me, there's only one dimension, and that's the one that we are in right now. The rest is concept, and I believe in just one thing, and yeah. So that's my theory of the universe, and it's just a fun thing. Alright, there's not anything serious whatsoever. It's just making a video. Okay, so I said 1 equal to many with H and flips. Alright, so it's just a random stuff that I wrote down to just start writing more stuff down. So in the beginning, there was only one type of particle, and I call that the unitron or the unicorn tron. Alright, there's a proton, neutron, and stuff like that. I just named this that because we really can't tell. This does not exist anymore. So we really can't tell what exactly it was, but it was one atom that was so intense that it had two it was two charges in itself, in a sense. All right, and maybe someone might have a concern like how did that pretty much build up. Basically, we would say there was a wavelength, or like a straight line of wave, but instead of it being line, it was just a suction pretty much of nothing. All right, we'll call that energy nothing. All right, and that's the charge of it. And basically this year, it's just an intense suction of like there being nothing else around it but just one particle that just pull itself in. Like it's so intense, with like so intense gravity, that it's just pull itself in, making like a straight line. All right, and energy from was ever consuming. All right, as I was saying, and it compressed so intensely that it pretty much created an opposite or a whole new wave as well. Now we have two lines, but before that second line could like move away, it kind of collapsed on itself, because this first line here is an ever consuming line. All right, so it became attracted to the new energy that it created. All right, and that extremity pretty much just kept the same thing together, and it looked like one, but actually there's a side All right, there's a, let's say, a nothing side and a something side. All right, this new opposite energy or whatever, we'll call that a something side. All right, and so let's say behind this is the something side. You can think of it as a paper. All right, of thin paper of like compressed energy. One side is different energy that was just created, and this side is the same old energy that is nothing. All right, now these two are still pressing onto each other because they are attracted to each other. Let's say one side won't let the other side go, because the main purpose of this is to just suck everything in and pretty much have nothing pretty much. All right, so now that intensity created a whole new side, and these two things are still stuck to each other. Now the existence of this new side is causing a ripple, or like the collision, like the pressing, in a sense, it kind of creates sparks, because for it to connect, it had to touch each other. All right, so when this side and the other side touches, right, that intensity sparks and something just flicker off. Right, flickers off like that. All right, so let's go back, and that is this thing here. All right, so it is one thing, but it has two sides in a sense. All right, so anti-gravity. All right, so out of that, and it was pure gravitational pull. All right, anti-gravity was created. All right, so anti-gravity was created due to the concept that atom or that particle was an energy mass that only kept a part of itself. All right, so those two things, because the intensity kept it to itself pretty much. That one atom was together because it kept pulling onto itself. All right, and now anti-gravity in a sense is like the lack of gravity pretty much. But basically when those sparks happen, all right, you can think about it as something flying off, and there's no space to fly off, but the intensity pretty much kind of force the existence of extra space in a sense. All right, so each time a spark flies off, it forces itself a little bit away, creating space in a sense. All right, where there's like no intensity pretty much. All right, that spark kind of fades, and then it become unattracted to the rest of the body, pretty much creating empty space. As a neutron energy mass by itself was equally energized. All right, so created due to the concept that an neutron was an energy mass that only kept a part of itself, that was equally as energized as the rest of itself. All right, so this single particle was pure gravity because it was the existence of two realities. Okay, because it will flip between two states due to the intensity of the attraction to itself. All right, like that. So you can think about two people like holding on to each other, like pulling each other and then spinning around in circle. All right, one person want to get the other person to the other side, but once that person get flipped, then the other person is on the other side. So like, you know how like as kids, you will like hold each other hand, like you grip each other hand like this. You can imagine somebody doing the same thing, putting their hand over my hand, and we'll grab each other hand like this, and then we try to like pull each other. When you do that, right, like eventually like it will be like a spinning thing. All right, so eventually that intensity kind of became a spin pretty much. All right, so Each time it consumed itself, there were residue. All right, so that's the spark that I was talking about. The spark were intensely sliced into smaller pieces, where in the smaller pieces where the parts that belong to each reality was instantly sucked away by the reality that it belonged to. So as those two things spawn, like the flip, the spark that was like produced, kind of like it got instantly ripped as well, because the each side was pulling its own section pretty much. All right, so where is it? Belong to this division was precise. All right, so it's like evenly pulling each time. So it's basically like let's say the atom and its reciprocal. I would do this, and then we can time this by this. All right, it's like that. Like every time that happen, it kind of cancel itself out, right? So if like the mass of the first here, if like the mass of the first thing was like 2, there will be another mass of 2 to instantly hook onto that and pretty much separate it. So each time that particle was created, there was an equal mass to like pull that one in to get attracted to it. So that's how it was, and the reality belonged to each time. All right. This created the suction between the two realities where the equally sliced part who instantly pull onto each other as the as they were pushed away from the unitron. All right, so as the sparks, like let's just say a spark was created like this, and then a piece of it, let's say it's a crack thing, right? Now each one of these is evenly attracted to the exact amount on the other side. All right, let's just say this side, and let's just say that. All right, when a flip happen, you get a piece flying off from this guy. All right, this piece flies up, and this type of piece fly up. All right, now this mass cannot pull onto this mass unless they are evenly the same size. Unless they are like the same size, and then they attract to each other. So every time they click, they pretty much become like this. All right, so think about that happening like instantly. Like every single piece attract itself at the same equal mass in a sense. All right, that's how it happens. And this causes a chain. So where was that? They instantly pull each other as they were. They equally sliced. I put a Y on the wrong thing. As they were pushed away from the center. Alright. These created cracks in both sides of realities as they pushed out of the single energy mass. Or you can think about one body like this, and then let's just say the spark happening in the middle here. All right, that spark has to come out some way or somehow, right? And the force of the spark is a bit more intense than the actual attraction between the two things. So it has to force its way out. And that's the crack that I'm talking about. I created a crack in both sides. All right. And so, and this caused a chain of cracks pretty much. As other parts of the, let's just say the realities, all right, which were hit by the detached piece, were too late to compress themselves with the rest of it. So the intensity in the center here is very strong. All right. Only things that are in here can connect with each other because they are equally charged. But if something get pushed a little bit away, it loses that energy. All right. And once that energy changes, it can no longer be part of the center. Now it has to get pushed out as well. So as this one is pushing something out, this one is going out, it hits something, that something also got to get pushed out. So that creates more stuff being pushed away. All right, so this one hit something that get pushed away, and just continue like that. All right, so causing them to violently compress themselves to the rest of the center, causing them to violently scrape and push away. All right, to be violently scraped and push away, or scraped, whatever. These masses started to pull other pieces to themselves. All right, obviously, there's a gravitational pull. So as these ones, as they went away, all right, they started attracting other like pieces to themselves as well. All right, so let's say this piece flew away, and then there was another piece here. All right, and let's say this side that shows towards this side is like maybe on negative or positive, and then both of them start pulling each other. In a sense, the smaller ones start getting closer to the bigger one. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So masses scrap and push away. These detached pieces had different masses and different how do I say? And the different masses started to pull each other to themselves, and over time, new masses became bigger. The mirror so the mirror sides who peel the reality because they were remaining. They had remaining regions that were still energetic. Alright, the push is extremely violent and instant, like spreading butter. Bread, the speed pushed the heaviest part further away. And the parts that were left as traces lost whatever energy they had to catch up with either side of the core era and the largest pieces. And these lesser energy still exists, empty spaces. Alright, so space itself is something, alright, and space is the particle of space is pretty much some of these particles that were exploded out that actually couldn't connect with the core all the pieces that were flying away. So I said it was like spreading of butter on a bread. All right. So you first start off like the whole butter, and then as you slide it across, right, this part become thinner, and then the butter mass pretty much is getting smaller, but you have the heavier mass all the way on this side, and then the thinner side is like where you started pretty much, and then you spread it like that. So this right here is space. All right, all of this is space, because these guys they have lesser energy. They lose their energy a lot faster. They are not in the explosion, with they are not in the compression where like the original side like nothing, and the papers something charged energy where they like compress like that, like the intensity, right? These guys are not in the middle of it, so they pretty much lose their energy in a sense, and that's what space is pretty much. All right, now we get back here, and they have energy, just not as much as everything else, and they are losing more energy, creating more space. All right, so this here is an infinite thing. All right, excuse me. All right, so this here is an infinite thing, and there's more space being created until the energy itself dies out. All right, and I think maybe the infinite part. So there's space in space in space, continuous space. All right, let's say it's happening instantly. Infinitely. There's like more space always, but we can't really experience it because maybe the force for creating that space is so small that it really doesn't affect the mass that we have. All right, it cannot really like affect us because our mass is a bit bigger than the overall, like how small that infinite thing became after that. So that's pretty much what we call space, pretty much. All right, and these particles that are flying out, like they still maintain some of their energy. All right, the energy here is not instantly lost in a sense, so there's still energy here, and that's important to keep in mind. All right, so the single atom, single piece. Now around here, there's like this side that have lost energy, and that's space. All right, and then infinite loss, and the part with energy, small remaining. What's this? What is it? All right, so the energy part and the part of no energy becoming empty space. All right, that's a diagram that I drew. I don't remember exactly what I was thinking when I drew that, but I think it kind of explains everything pretty much. Anyway, so we went from a blank line, in a sense, that everly spread, created itself and instantly merged with it, and that compression started creating sparks because they both sides cannot touch each other, and they were pretty much that intensity, that pull was pretty much spinning this exact thing, and every spark, every collision gonna like push an energy ball apart, like a butter slice. Like a spreading a bread. A butter on a bread, leaving traces of like other sparks. Other energy behind, but this energy pretty much started to die out infinitely, creating space. and we still have energy coming out this way. All right, this is still energy. Energy, the butter slice at the end of it. Does it say here? All right, now these started collecting other sparks that were coming out. They started collecting it. All right, so these are becoming bigger too. All right, this here is becoming smaller. It's losing mass because it's constantly pushing thing out. And these guys are becoming bigger because every time something fly out, they try to find like something that they can attach themselves to. All right, attach themselves to. So that's what's going on there. Um, the push regions started pulling equal masses of other detached flying pieces to themselves. Okay, creating more powerful pulls. All right, so these started to become more powerful over time. The core became smaller, and its last piece became smaller and smaller as the detached pieces became larger. Okay, the detached pieces could not flip because they did not match the energy level of the core. All right, so the flipping can only happen here because the intensity of the pull is only matched within the zone. All right, now the intensity matches, and to the point that it is ever growing to the point that at some point it has to touch each other. All right, and every time it touch each other, it's like go like that, and that process of like going like this creates this spark that kind of flies out, right? And those sparks are no longer closer to the action in a sense, right? So they cannot be part of the flip. All right, part of the attraction and intensity that is like causing them to like go like this. All right, so these masses cannot flip, but they still exist, and they are like different they are in different locations, and they are still collecting some stuff around them. And this guy is becoming smaller and smaller. All right, it's like a snake eating itself. All right, so the cold flip, it become a stream, right? It became smaller and smaller, and the smaller and smaller you get, the intensity increased. All right, since the pieces that were even, the pieces were even smaller, and the larger pieces were becoming way intense on how they collected. The half of the realities. All right, so this side was becoming stronger. This side was also becoming stronger. Like as it happens, all right, you can think about a circle of stuff that are instantly waiting to pull something to themselves. All right, there's the core right now. It became smaller, and the spark that's still flying up. But every time a spark is created, like the gravitational pull by these guys at this point, since they've already collected stuff and created their own masses, is so intense that the moment something flies, right, they instantly get it. And in fact, instead of in addition to like instantly getting it, they are also like pulling onto this mass here, like trying to like grab that piece. Like the piece haven't even been created yet, but they are still trying to like pull these things from together. All right, and the intensity is very extreme here. The spinning become even faster because these guys are also affecting it. So let's say this side pull like the positive side. The moment that pull happen, this side, like the pull become even stronger here because this side is also trying to pull this side as well. so that I instantly flip it again, 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 because the pull around here is almost like almost equal in a sense every single time. It's an equal amount of pull every time, and then there's also a pull between them, so the intensity becomes even stronger. All right, not only is there a pull between here, there's more pull also, so they are spinning way faster and the intensity is so strong, and this thing is sparking ever more, making even, I mean, it's hitting even more, um, making even more sparks. But this, like, these sparks are very small. They are smaller because this is already smaller anyways, and every mass that it loses, it become even more intense. All right, think about it that way. Sense pieces that were even smaller. At so this is at some point, the larger piece in the core created a void suction so intense that the next, all right, this is probably the next flip of reality, pretty much that little slice, that's why I call it realities. All right, one side is something, one side is nothing. All right, like it became so intense that the next flip, in a sense, let's say like it flipped so much that the intensity became so strong that the next flip was gonna decide something. All right, it was gonna decide like an action was going to be the, like the last, pretty much the last flip, pretty much. All right, so it's going to be the last, um the last, the large pieces compress onto their end. All right, like I was saying here, where like they were pulling. All right, compress onto their end of the core, but had to the flip had to happen. All right, so no matter how intense these things were pulling onto the core still had to flip, as long as these two things were connected to each other, attached to each other. The flip still had to happen. All right, because you had negatively charged and positively charged atoms on the other side, and each one of these are still pulling their version of themselves within the core, and the core itself is also like compressing itself due to attraction and also spinning, right? So the core still had to flip no matter what, right? um so for instance, where was that compression piece? All right, Netflix already. The largest piece compressed themselves. They were ready, all right, to pull out the side. Intensity, both sides crashed. So it's going to be large. The large piece compressed onto the end of, so intense. All right, so that last flip that happened was so intense that both sides that were like pulling, all right, they, let's just say this side and this side, all right, these guys were like trying to find that section and like pull it out. The instant that spark happened, they were trying to find their piece to pull it out to themselves. All right, and that intensity that they were using to pull their piece kind of pull both sides to each other. All right, this sides that are pulling to each other, and this sides that are pulling to each other. And the moment that the moment that perfect flip happened, where like this side had its own section and this side had its own section, they instantly collided onto each other because they were like, there was like no more space for them to pull like their section off to. So like just say the amount of space were like this, and then the moment they pull it, that this side became whole and this side became whole, and that remaining force between the pull kind of collage. clash both of them into each other. All right, and that intensity was so, that crash was like so intense. All right, all right, so they crashed themselves with an intensity, the pull every energy. All right, that pull every energized piece into what? Into living space behind. What is that? A tiny dot. What the flip? Oh, all right. So this intensity, all right, pull everything, like the whole mass, pull everything into itself that it became a single dot. All right, for an instant though. All right, so think about like something going together, compressing before it go boom like that. Right, this is the Big Bang that happened. All right, before the Big Bang, this is what happened. All right, so it grew up to this, pushed up to this, and it got to the point where like the force in the middle was so intense, and the force pulling onto the middle was so intense that once the force in the middle was crushed out, like was canceled out, like the force pulling, right? Both sides like pull into each other so intensely that they all compress into one dot. All right, that compression, it it went into itself so intensely that it also had to bounce off, because it's not just one energy in here. We have this energy and this energy. Now, at some point, it crushed itself so hard that that single dot compressed and it touched each other. All right, once it touched each other, obviously there has to be a spark. All right, that spark was the biggest explosion. That's what we know as the Big Bang. All right. I personally theorize that this is what happened before the Big Bang. If nobody knows, it's just a fun thing that I'm saying. All right, and this is the Big Bang before that, and that's how we got all the pieces that the universe needed to pretty much create itself. So flip happened. Alright, the butterfly never stopped. So another happened, pushing these pieces even further. So the explosion, alright, pushed everything out. And by the time there was space, by the way, right, I said leaving space behind, like this part. Like the energy that died out, like doing the original process, like here, right? The energy that died out, like creating space in the middle, like the butter slice, being spread on the bread, like this little traces that were left behind. That's the space, all right? Those never disappeared. They still existed in their intensity of like they didn't have any energy pretty much. They are just basic space and nothing, like they didn't participate in that explosion. All right, this explosion created even more space pretty much. All right, there was space between it here, but the space compressed, all right, as these two were pushing into each other. All right, and once they push into each other, in the middle, right, some of the particles hit each other, and then boom again, another huge explosion happened. All right, and space was already there, so the space just expanded and became even bigger. Some energy died out over time, creating space as well, and pretty much that's how it happened. All right. Oh, this, let me actually explain that. So as these two sides pull each other, they left space behind. So around them, all right, was also space. I just said space here. and there was nothing around that pretty much. All right, so they got big, they pull each other, leaving space behind. There was space in the middle, but the space in the middle got compressed, all right, so intensely, all right, and that combined with the explosion, making things to get pushed even further apart. All right, it got compressed and then poof, exploded. All right, releasing that compressed energy, compressed space, and just spreading things out, making even more bigger space, pretty much. And okay, so further apart with the residue. Okay, so let's spin it into their own spaces. All right, creating a world we have, and the world outside of it we have positive and negative and lack thereof, because they are residue from the two realities. All right, so basically that's it for me. Now scientists have stuff like how do you call it? So I was just watching some video. It said gamma rays or whatever. I'm no physicist or whatever, so I don't know most of these things. I was just sitting down thinking, like, if a normal person thought about this, how would they, like, come up with like what happened before the Big Bang, or like the Big Bang, how did that happen and stuff like that? Like how a regular person who haven't read like all the physics book or whatever. So I watched some YouTube video, and said they already have stuff like gamma rays or whatever, gamma rays burst, and they said two neutron stars collide, an explosion is happening, and that's the gamma ray burst. So pretty much the stuff that I just sat down and I just thought of, they already have this. So I can say that my thinking is pretty much within the ballpark. And yeah, it's 40 something minutes of me just randomly ranting. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.